Well, I wanted to make a short video and say that I was right. Clemson did win. I picked them to win. And I believe with the videos, with the picks, predictions that I make on about sport games on the computer, on YouTube, I'm 4-1, which is pretty good. So, 4-1 is a pretty good record. But I don't feel good about that game. I was right about it. I was very right about it. I told you Clemson would win, and I was sure that they would win. But they shouldn't have won. Ohio State outplayed them. Ohio State had a better game plan. Ohio State had their players wanted it more, it seemed. They probably should have run it up the middle and then, threw it vertically more. But anyway, Ohio State's offense scuttered. But basically, this was a game that there was 4 key plays. 3 really big key plays. I want to go over them. First is Wade. Wade is a defensive player for the Buckeyes. Now, at the time of the game, I believe it was 16-0 the Buckeyes, and they were dominating Clemson. Now, Wade goes in for the stop. He hits Trevor Lawrence. They get the 4th down stop, and Clemson's trying to punt the ball back. And up to that point in the game, now Ohio State is having to settle for field goals, but it doesn't matter because they're still getting there. And every time Ohio State got a field goal from that point on, they probably would have ought to go back and see the possessions, but they may have won the game if they got a field goal every time they get the ball from that possession on. Anyway, Shaun Wade should not have been ejected from the game. That should not have been a targeting call. That was a bad call. Now, by the letter of the law, helmet to helmet, forcible contact on a defenseless player. Trevor Lawrence wasn't a defenseless player, though. That was head-to-head. It wasn't like it was a receiver blindsided. Trevor Lawrence had the ball. He was going forward, and Wade smacked him. But the thing is, it was head-to-head. And it was helmet-to-helmet, but he wrapped his arms around him. That was how I was taught to tackle when I was in high school. It was a good tackle. It was a good old-school tackle. And yeah, he led with his head, but it wasn't outrageous. That was the first time I've seen that called helmet to helmet. Now, I've seen that called helmet to helmet on the field, and then an overturn. You do not end a player's playing career in college with that call. First of all, Clemson would have lost the game without that call. They had nothing going for them. Ohio State had all the momentum, and they were going to win it. Ohio State had it all. Wade should by no means have been dismissed, and I feel sorry for him. That was a bad deal for the Buckeyes. And as I said, by the letter of the law, yes, helmet to helmet, technically, yes, targeting, but it's a bad rule, and the officials know it's a bad rule, so most of the time, they don't call that. When you wrap your arms around your opponent and you tackle, and as long as you don't, like headbutt when you tackle, but you lead with your helmet, but you wrap your arms, they don't call that as targeting. So no, that was the number 1 bad call of the game. That should not have happened, and if that play would not have happened, Ohio State would have won. Second, and if this play and that play ended up leading not only to Wade being out, but a Clemson touchdown. Without that touchdown, and with Wade still in the game, Clemson would not have won the game. Second, the roughing the punter play. I watched that in slow motion. The roughing the punter. That may loosely should have been called running into the punter. But now, you might disagree with me on this. If you do, that's fine. But if you actually look at it, the punter punts the ball, and then while he punts the ball, and he sees these players coming, he leaps, He's in the air, and when he's in the air, he goes forward, so he's actually jumping toward the contact, and he actually knees one of the defenders. I think he kneed him in the head. Look at it again. You'll see that I'm right. The punter actually the punter actually kneed the defender in the head, and the defender was called for roughing the punter. That was a bad call. Now, the punter initiated contact. He moved forward. He didn't just punt the ball and try to get away. He punted the ball and jumped toward the defender. He jumped toward his head. That's not a roughing the punter call. And that touchdown, that play led to a Clemson touchdown. Those are 14 points that Clemson should not have had. Now, the Clemson receiver who caught the ball, he caught the ball, he took 3 steps, then it was hit away from him. Ohio State scooped it up and scored. Now this is debatable. The Wade hit was the worst. That was the biggest thing. The Wade hit, no, the receiver recovering the football. Oh, forget about a football move. 3 steps is considered a football move. That Clemson receiver, he caught the ball, he had it in his hands, he took 3 steps, and then it was knocked away from him. That's a fumble. That is a fumble. Now, it happened really fast, but when you go to the replay in slow motion, he took 3 steps. You don't need to make a football move if you make 3 steps. 3 steps is considered a football move. That was a scoop and score. So if you're paying attention, that was another touchdown the Buckeyes should have had that was turned around. 21 points. 2 touchdowns Clemson shouldn't have had, and 1 touchdown the Buckeyes should have had. 21 points. Now, the Dopkins touchdown overturned. Now, Dopkins had the ball, crossed the goal line, it was in the air, he crossed it in the air. He had the ball, but it was turning when he had it, that was overturned. But it was called a touchdown on the field. J.K. Dopkins had the ball, and he jumped over the goal line, dived, and when he landed, the ball, squirmed a little bit and, rotated. He still had possession of it. He never nutted, but the officials don't like how that looks. And did he have firm possession? No. I would say he still had possession. Now here's the deal. So I can see that being overturned. But I put that in here because these are 4 times that the call went Ohio State's way on the field. 4 times the call went Ohio State's way on the field, except for the punter. Except for the roughing the punter pass. That's not reviewable. But the reviewable plays, the Wade call, the targeting, the receiver, the scoop and score for the receiver, and Dopkins over. Those all went Ohio State's way on the field. In order to overturn a call by the booth, you had to have indisputable evidence. Indisputable evidence. When a guy catches the ball and takes 3 steps, you don't have indisputable evidence that wasn't a catch. Now you might have evidence that, you might have your opinion that wasn't a catch, but you don't have indisputable evidence. No way. So, Ohio State, I hate to use the word cheated. I'm not going to use the word cheated. Yeah, we will. Because I feel sorry for their players. The referees, the replay booth, they cheated them. And I am disappointed because I like to see the best team win, the best prepared team. And Ohio State, they had Clemson figured out. And until that Wade call, you don't know what I'm talking about if you didn't watch the game, but until Wade was ejected, Ohio State had this game. That was a bad call. And if Trevor Lawrence didn't do his, if he wasn't down and injured for a little while, they probably wouldn't even caught it. It was a bad call. Very unfortunate. Wade deserved better than that. You could have, part of me feels for Ohio State, but part of me just feels for Wade. You don't kick a senior or a junior. Actually, I think he's a redshirt sophomore. You don't kick, but he's going to the NFL next year. You don't kick the guy's last game on a questionable call like that. You don't. The refs, they don't do that. There's so yes. Anyway, I really question the SEC officials. It's not the first game I question the SEC officials. When I watch the SEC games, certain games, seems like certain times, in my opinion, they done whatever they could to have Alabama win. I'm talking conference games, not non-conference games. They want Alabama to win, and because they know they want them to win, so they get in the playoff and hopefully win the playoff. That's good for the SEC. These officials, I don't know if it was whether because of the ESPN contract with the ACC and not the Big Ten. I don't know if the officials were biased toward Clemson being in the South, or whether they were biased because they knew LSU. Clemson may have been an easier game. I don't know. But these officials definitely were biased against Ohio State. I'm probably leaning toward the ESPN deal, but I'm not sure. I know as an Ohio State fan, I don't want SEC officials again. Trevor Lawrence, you played a great game. ETN, you played a great game too. And, Dabo, I don't like your negative recruiting. You do negative recruit. You're never going to watch this video. I think you negative. I think you negatively recruit. I don't want you to get me for slander or libel. But I think you do. And I don't like it. But Brent Venables, great defensive coach. But you guys should have lost tonight. The referee saved you. But I tell you what, LSU looked dynamic. LSU blew out Georgia. LSU blew out Oklahoma. Two teams that I respect. How can you not pick LSU against Clemson? Anyway, thank you for this video. And just a side note, if you watched the fight, how bad did Rampage Jackson look? He used to fight at 205, and he fights Fedor, one of the best heavyweights of all time, and he's bigger than Fedor is. And not in a good way either. Anyway, and I'm not talking sour grapes. This is stuff that really needs to be talked about. This game needs to be reviewed. I don't think Ohio State would have defeated LSU. I think LSU would have picked them apart. And so going against LSU is not. But when you lose, when a team loses, you want that team to lose fairly. And keep in mind, I picked Clemson. I picked Clemson to win. Ohio State, they were the better team. The referees like Clemson, though. Alright, well, thank you for this video, and I will try to get back to the content that I'm more known for later. But anyway, thank you very much. God bless. Thank you.